This is a Heidelberg Platen press. It's what's known as an automatic because it has a feeder and a delivery on it. It was made before World War II, and then we were kind enough to bomb the factory and level it. So the factory was rebuilt, the machine was improved, and they built about 250,000 of these before they stopped production. Don't hold me to this, but I think early 70s sometime they made the last ones. They made, basically you'll run into two different kinds of these. You'll run into ones that have red balls, and you'll run into ones that have black balls. And although they look similar, they're not the same presses. They operate the same, but they're not totally interchangeable. The red balls are the new ones, and the black balls are the older ones. This has a form size, a maximum form size of 10 by 15 inches. They also made a larger machine, which was either 12 by 18 or 13 by 19. I can never remember. But there's one sitting right over there, but it's not running. But it's the same machine, only everything on it's been scaled up to accommodate the larger form size. This press works with a system of two grippers. The grippers pick the sheet up and place the sheet on the platen. Platen comes up, prints the form, and the gripper brings the sheet into the delivery. And these grippers rotate, and there's two of them, and that's why this press has been called the windmill, because this looks like a little windmill. And this thing right here is not just an advertising slogan, but it's a guard to keep the gripper bar from slicing your face open when you lean over to see how your printing's doing. So they put this guard on here, and the press will not operate unless the guard is in the down position. It will automatically trip the press if the guard's in the up position. Other than that, this is a very safe press as any press goes. It's got a nice inking system. One thing that's different about this press than you'll find on like Kluge's or Chandler and Price's has a drum inking system on it as opposed to a disc, and the drum revolves and oscillates to give you very nice inking. It runs two form rollers. It can also run a rider roller to give you better ink distribution. That's also an oscillator, I might add. It has a complete ink fountain in the back with adjustable keys along the back. We're not going to use that today, but if you had a large form, or if you had a form that was like heavy on one side and light on the other, you could actually control the flow of ink to the form based upon the settings of the keys underneath the fountain here. It's got additional distributor rollers and rider rollers that go between the ink fountain and the drum to give you very good ink distribution. The other thing that's different about this press is this press will not trip off impression when it misses a sheet. Most automatic presses, when it misses a sheet, the press will go off impression. A lot of presses will even stop, but they'll at least go off impression so the press doesn't print on the packing. Well, this press doesn't do it that way. When this press was designed, the Germans came up with a little different idea, and instead of taking the press off impression, they just stop the press. So when the press misses a sheet, it stops immediately. And I'll see if I can cause it to do that. To start the press, you have to engage the clutch. That starts the press moving, but it doesn't start the feeder. You start the feeder with the control here on the side. That will start feeding the paper. When the paper starts feeding, then you have to manually put the press on impression. And if it misses a sheet, it'll stop, but it'll still be on impression. If you're not used to this type of press, that's kind of an odd feature. If you're used to running like Chandler and Price automatics or Kluge automatics, this is completely different. So it took me a little bit of getting used to, and I'll probably screw up. So just be ready for that. So you can see you can see where it gets its name from, because those gripper bars look like little windmills going around. We're going to turn up the speed just a little bit. Okay, now to start the feeder, you basically what you're doing is you're turning a vacuum on to this pickup sucker bar right here. And all you're doing is introducing vacuum into that bar, It comes down here to the pile of paper, picks the gripper. Actually, the pickup suckers lift the sheet enough for the gripper to come around and grab the sheet and take it into the Platen. One other thing I ought to show you. On this press, which is another thing that's kind of different that you got to get used to, where you lock the form in the press is going to determine where it prints on the sheet, because the paper will always go into the gripper at the same amount of space. You don't change the location of the image by changing where you pick the paper up. The paper is always picked up at the same place. So if you want to change the location of the image, you have to do that by adjusting where you lock it up in the form. Whereas on that little hand-fed press, you can pretty much lock the form up anywhere you want, and depending upon where you put the gauge pins, that's where it's going to print. This isn't like that. This is very critical as to where you lock the form in the chase. And in fact, you can run another register system on this press where the sheet is actually released into these pins down here, and you can run hairline register on this press. So it's very, very exacting. We're not going to do that today, but this press can hold phenomenal register. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So put this up, it'll stop like right now. So that's the safety device, and that's how fast it would stop if it missed a sheet.